Hey everyone, it's Zeke. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up the Trex mining software in Windows 11, and this also works in Windows 10 as well. One thing that you need to know is that this is for NVIDIA graphics cards only. If you're using AMD cards, then this video is not for you. And before we jump into this video, if you don't have Windows installed and set up on your mining rig already, then check out my video on how to set up Windows. It'll be in the description and in the top right hand corner of this video. Now in this video, I go over how to first install Windows on your PC and then how to set up all the settings and optimize your PC for mining. So I recommend checking that video out first before watching this. But if you have everything set up already, then you can go and proceed with this video. So let's get right into it. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is head over to the MetaMask website. You need to type in this link directly and not go and search in it for Google, because you could click on a link on Google and it might not be the actual official MetaMask link and it could be hacked in some way. So you want to make sure you're setting up a MetaMask with the actual MetaMask website. So once you're here, you just want to hit install MetaMask onto Chrome, and then you're going to add the extension. And then once the extension is added, you're just going to go over to the MetaMask. It should pop up right away. Just hit get started. And then on the right, you're going to click on create new wallet. Now you might want to read through all this. It's pretty important. Like, there's some useful information that they give you. But once you've read through that, just hit I agree. And then you're going to create a password. Now I recommend using a password generator so that you have a nice and secure password, and then write this down somewhere so that you don't forget it. You could use these password managers like LastPass, but all of these passwords are just not very secure. So you're better off just creating a random password with random.org and then storing this password somewhere that's not on your computer. This just helps with the security for your MetaMask account. But once you have a password in, it can be however long you want, as long as it's 8 characters. Just create the password, and then it's going to show you this little video. Now you can watch this through. I recommend watching it through. It is pretty useful, but you can just proceed after you've watched that. And then here you're gonna have to set up your secret recovery phrase. Now this is a private password and it must be kept private, because if someone has a seed, then basically on the MetaMask earlier, instead of creating a new account, you can import a wallet, and you can import a wallet using these secret recovery phrases. So if someone has these phrases, then they can basically create their MetaMask account with your wallet seed or these phrases and control all of your crypto assets. So it's important that you copy these down onto either a piece of paper or onto an encrypted USB stick. Now with the piece of paper, you would store it into like a fire safe so that you don't lose it, or write it down on multiple pieces of paper and store them in different locations. This does work pretty well and it's cheap and easy, but the thing is that paper can be damaged by like fire and water. So if you want something that's better, you can store it on a USB stick and then encrypt it. Now there's different like USB stick encryption softwares you can use, so I'd recommend those. But if you just want to have something easy, then write it down on different pieces of paper and then have like multiple pieces of paper so that you don't lose all of them. What I don't recommend is storing this phrase somewhere on like an email or your computer, because someone has access to your computer. Like if it gets hacked with a virus or something, then they can see your MetaMask recovery phrase and then basically transfer all of your crypto assets out of your account. So that's why I recommend storing this password offline somewhere. And then once you have your phrases written down, it's going to ask you to confirm them. So just go into the order that you wrote them down, and that's just going to make sure that you have them written down properly. Now this is pretty easy, and once you're done, you can just hit next. And then if you did it properly, it's going to say congratulations. And then I just recommend reading through all these little stuff. They make the setup process pretty easy and good for beginners getting into crypto so that they know more about it. But yeah, once you're in here, you can see your whole account details and wallet address. Now what we're going to have to do now is set up the Polygon network onto MetaMask. So in order to do that, we're going to go up to the top right hand corner and click add network. And then here you're going to have to type in a couple things. So for the network name, it's going to be just Polygon. And then for the URL, it's going to be polygon-rpc.com/. And make sure you put https:// exactly how it is here in the video. And then for the chain ID, it's just 137. For the currency symbol, it's going to be Matic in all caps. And then for the block explorer URL, it's https:// polygonscan.com/. These are just the credentials for setting up the network onto your MetaMask wallet. Once you're done with that, you can just hit save. And then now Matic is onto your MetaMask, and then you can switch between the Ethereum mainnet and the Polygon mainnet, just like that. Now the next step is to add the Ethereum token into this Matic network. Now in order to do that, again, don't try to Google search this URL, or I recommend following the link in the description or typing directly into your browser https://wallet.polygon.technology. This will bring you right to the website and make sure that you're on the official website for this, just to avoid anything getting hacked. Once you're onto this website, on the top right hand corner, you're going to hit Connect Wallet. And then here you're going to click on MetaMask, and then that's going to add to this website. And then you're going to hit Sign or Next. And then once that is connected, on the top right hand corner, you're just going to click on Polygon Wallet. And then here you have all your assets here on the account. So highlight over Ethereum, which is the first one. And then on the right, it's going to have a little MetaMask icon. So click on that and then just hit add token. And then now we can go back to MetaMask and see that Ethereum is now onto here. Now this is wrapped Ethereum. It's a little bit different, but now you can receive this wrapped Ethereum from their mining pool on the Matic network. Now this just ensures that you're not paying any transaction fees, because coming into 2022, these transaction fees are quite high. So you definitely want to be avoiding those. You're going to be receiving Ethereum, but it's going to be on the Polygon mainnet. So it's a little bit different, but it's still Ethereum. Now the next step is to install the mining software. So in your browser, you're going to search up Trex miner. Now make sure you go directly to the GitHub website, because if you go to some random website that says Trex miner download, you might be downloading a different type of Trex miner that's not from the actual Trex miner developers, and this could be just some kind of virus that compromises everything on your computer. So make sure you go to the first one. It should be GitHub, the actual GitHub website. Now I'll also have the link to it in the description so you know you're going to the right one, or you can just type it right into your Google search. Basically what happens is Windows detects all the mining softwares as viruses, and because of this we're going to have to disable the firewall for this specific executable file. And if you're not running the actual Trex mining software when the firewalls offer it, then your PC will be definitely at risk for getting compromised. So as Trex is downloading, we're going to create an exclusion. So on your desktop, just create a new folder and you can name it Trex miner or whatever you want to remember it as. And then in the start menu, go to the search bar and search for virus and threat protection settings. And then here you can go to the bottom and add exclusions, and then add an exclusion and then folder, and then select the folder that we just made, whatever you named it. And then now Windows will not block anything running out of this folder. So that's why you want to have the right Trex mining software running. And then once Trex miner is downloaded to your computer, you can just extract to the folder that we made, just like how I'm doing here. And then while that is going, we're now going to configure the Ethereum mining pool. So we're going to be using ethermine.org. This is the biggest mining pool for Ethereum and is recommended by a lot of miners. Now I recommend going to the actual ethermine.org website and not search it in Google. So just type in ethermine.org, go into that. And then while we're here, just copy your wallet address from MetaMask, just like that, and then paste it into ethermine.org. And then here, this is your dashboard. Nothing has been set up yet because it's just been made. Go to settings, and then here we're gonna basically, anyone could see the link to this page here, but in order to actually change the settings and affect anything, you have to confirm that it's actually you accessing it. So there's two ways to do this. One is using the IP address for where you're mining from. This is your private IP address, not your public one. Or you can connect to your MetaMask wallet. So that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to connect through MetaMask wallet. And once that is done, we're just going to hit sign and we should be good. And then here you're going to select payment method, and we're going to select layer 2 for the Polygon Matic network. Now again, this is to avoid transaction fees because they are very expensive in 2022. And once you have 0.005 Ethereum or anything above that, it's going to pay out automatically. Now just to give you a sense of like how much Ethereum this is, right now a 3060 Ti LHR can mine around this in one day. So like if you're mining with a 3060 Ti LHR with the right settings, then you'll be getting like a payout every single day. So it really depends on what GPU you have. Maybe you're getting like more than 0.005 a day, or it takes you a couple days to get this. Either way, as soon as you get it, you're gonna receive it right away, and there's no transaction fees because you're on the Polygon Matic network. Just for comparison, like I'm mining with 10 GPUs on the actual Ethereum mainnet, and I've set my gas fee really low to like a couple dollars, and I haven't received a payout in over a month just because the transaction fees have been so high. Now if I was on the Polygon Matic network, I would be receiving payouts every single day because I'm mining around 0.09 ETH per day on my big mining rig. The only downside is that with the Polygon Matic network, you're going to be receiving wrapped Ethereum, and in order to get the actual Ethereum, you're going to have to exchange it for Ethereum, and you might lose a little bit there, but that will be offset by the amount of transaction fees you're not going to be spending. But once the mining pool is set up, we're now going to set up the Trex mining software on your computer. So go back to the folder. You should be extracted into this folder, so open that up, and then for Ethereum and the Ethermine pool, which is just the purpose of this tutorial video. If you do want to be setting up a different coin or on a different mining pool, you're gonna have to watch a separate tutorial video. I will be making a bunch of these videos probably for like mining Raven coin on like this mining pool, mining Flux on like this mining pool, mining Ton coin, etc. But for now, we're just gonna be doing Ethereum on the Ethermine mining pool. So these are all batch files. So look for the eth-ethermine batch file, and just, you know, before you open this up, it's not recommended to be running mining softwares on a personal PC that has accounts and passwords, so do this at your own risk. I myself run these sometimes on my PC, which is probably not the best idea, but you can still do it as long as you have the proper mining software from the GitHub website. Something you can do is like add second steps to logging into anything on your computer. So anything like two-factor authentication, if that's possible, just something to secure your computer a little bit more. So what we're going to do here is go to properties by right-clicking on it and then hit edit. Now if something pops up on Windows, you're just going to have more info and then allow or run anyways. Sometimes Windows blocks this, but since we excluded it on the firewall, you should be fine. And then in your MetaMask, you might have to recopy your wallet address. And once you have your wallet address, you're just gonna replace the one that's already in there with your own, so that you're gonna be mining to your wallet address. And then once that is done, you're gonna have to set up your mining pool address. So on the Ethermine website, you're just gonna hit start mining. And then depending on where you are located, you're gonna have to use a different IP or different server. So if you're in Asia, you're gonna use Asia 1 or Asia 2. If you're in Europe, you can use the EU one, and then the US E and West. So I'm in the US East, so I'm just gonna copy this one and paste it right into the pool here, and then keep the port the same, just replace exactly what I'm doing here. The only last thing you can change is for the rig 0. You can change that to whatever you want to set it like a different name. So you can set like Windows PC or like mining rig or whatever. Doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna keep it as default. All right, and then once you have your wallet address in there and the pool configured, that's everything you need to do for setting up this file, except now you need to set up your overclock settings. Now there's two different ways you can do this. So you can just go into the top left, hit file, save, and then that's all good to go. And then the last step before you start mining is to set up your overclock settings. Now you can either do this in MSI Afterburner, which is the most popular software for overclocking your GPU, or you can actually overclock directly into Trex Miner, and that's why I have chosen Trex Miner for this video, because it is one of the best miners to use for NVIDIA cards. And it's better to overclock directly into your Trex mining software, because then you don't have to install another program. It's way easier to set up the overclock settings, and it's much better for a couple reasons. Setting up in the batch file, you can use your absolute core clock, which is a different kind of core clock settings that increases the performance on some GPUs. And then the second reason is whenever the mining program is running, you'll always have the right overclock setting in, so you don't have to worry about MSI Afterburner being on or not. Because if they're hardwired into the text document, then you'll always be overclocked. Sometimes MSI Afterburner doesn't always boot when your computer is turned on, and your overclock settings might be reset, which is bad because then your GPU will be running at maximum power and a lot less hash rate. And if the Trex miner crashes, it also like restarts itself, whereas if it crashes with MSI Afterburner overclocks, it's just not gonna restart itself that well. So having the overclocks in this document is just much more stable, and so I'm gonna show you how to do that. Now if you don't know like the proper overclock settings for your GPUs, then that's a good time to use MSI Afterburner, because you can actually change the settings while the thing is running, whereas if they're in this document, you have to restart the whole miner in order to change the settings. I do recommend like tinkering with your overclock settings just so you find the right settings for yours, because the preset settings that you can find online are not always the right ones for your GPU, because every GPU is built like at a different quality, like just the silicon lottery. Some of them are just not as good, and some of them are actually really good. But if you know what your numbers are, or if you just want to use the preset settings, then just follow this guide and I'll show you exactly what to do. But if you've never overclocked your GPU, then I recommend downloading MSI Afterburner and testing out some different settings. So on this website called hashrate.io, you can also find overclocks on like different websites and sources, but this is the most popular one and I use it a lot for checking out different GPUs. So on the hashrate.io, just go to whatever GPU you have and make sure you're on Ethereum, because there's different overclocks to different coins. So make sure you're looking at Ethereum. And then for the memory clock settings you see here, there will be some different overclock settings based on what memory your GPU has, and specifically this 3060 Ti LHR. It's built with either Hynix memory or Samsung memory. Now, not every card has this, so if you on this website and you see it says overclock Hynix memory, then you have to make sure that you only use that if you have Hynix memory. And you have to make sure that you're not using the normal overclock high settings, because that memory clock is going to be way too high for your GPU and it can't actually handle it. It's just that some cards have different types of memory that don't clock as fast as the other types. So in order to figure this out, you have to download this program called GPU-Z, and this will just show you a bunch of information about your GPU. So go ahead and download that, and then you don't have to install it. You can just literally run it right off the bat, and it should show all this stuff here. So where it says memory type, it should say, for me it says GDDR6 and then in brackets Hynix. So I'm going to use Hynix memory here, and I'm not going to use the other stuff because I set it to the normal overclock high, which is 2600 for HiveOS and 1300 for Windows. If I set it to 1300, I'm not actually going to be able to run it on 1300 because it'll crash and it just won't run properly. So here it says Hynix memory, it sets to 1800, which on Windows that would be 900, so I'm gonna set it to 900, and I'll explain the memory clock dividing in half right now. So these are all for HiveOS, and you're gonna have to divide them by 2. So say the memory clock says 2000, divided by 2 is 1000. So don't use the 2000 there, use the 1000, whatever it is, divided by half. And then everything else is the same except for the power limit. So in order to calculate the power limit on this website, it says it in watts, so like what power to set the watts at. But for Windows overclocking, we have to set it for as a percentage of the max power that the GPU can handle. So in order to do that, say it says like 165 watts for one GPU. What you have to do is go on Google and look up the TDP of that GPU. And what the TDP means is it's basically the thermal design power. There's different terminology for it, but that's what I go by. It's basically what the maximum power it's built to take. Like it's never going to ask for more than that. So say it's 200 watts and the power limit is set to 165 watts. Just divide 165 by 200 and that should give you around 83. And then that is the setting you're going to use for this overclock setting. And this should be a number between 50 and 100. If you have something other than that, then you didn't do it properly. Now, if you're running multiple GPUs, then this will be a little more complicated, but it's not that hard. You're just going to have to find the overclock settings for all of the GPUs instead of just one. And once you have all the overclock settings for the GPUs, then you're going to have to run the Trex mining software just as is without any overclocks. And then, or you could run it with the MSI Afterburner, depends on how we want to do it. But you're gonna have to find the order of the GPUs that are listed in the Trex mining software, because each GPU is gonna have like a specific number. It's gonna be from like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And then in that order, you're gonna have to overclock the settings based on that order. So I'll show you how that's done later. Just make a note of like the order of the GPUs. I'll put an example on the screen here so you can see, and then we'll use that later in this tutorial. And just so you know, the Trex has to be run as administrator in order to use the overclock settings, because it has to have like the computer's permission to overclock the GPU. And in order to run this file as an administrator, to insert the exact path of the Trex into the beginning of this batch file. So in order to do that, you have to right click the trex.exe and go to properties, and then copy the location. So copy that and then paste it in front of the trex.exe, and then add a little backslash, and then put the whole thing in quotations marks so that it takes into account the spaces and doesn't glitch. And then you can just hit save, and then now you can run it as administrator. And if this doesn't work, then that means it's being blocked by the antivirus. Alright, and now for the overclocking. So now we're going to right click on the batch file and hit edit. And here I've added in a couple of overclock settings. So MT, PL, fan, lock, core clock, memory clock, and intensity. So I'm going to go over what each of these means. Starting with MT, it stands for memory tweak. Now this is only for GDDR5 or GDDR5X cards, like the 1080, 1080 Ti, 1060. These GPUs just have like a special overclock setting. Now if you go on the Hashit.no website for these cards, you'll see that it has this advanced setting on it. Now this is the memory tweak setting. So for this, it's a value between 1 and 6, where 6 is the maximum, 1 is the minimum, and then 0 is just nothing. So if you have one of these GPUs, then I would just recommend starting the value with 1, and then save and run the miner software, and then try 2, then 3, and then keep going up till 6 until it crashes. And then just go back to the value that was stable. So like if you crash to 5, go to 4 or 3. This just gives these kind of GPUs a little bit more performance. And if you don't have any of these GPUs, then you can just remove the MT completely. And just a little bit of information, if you have just one GPU, then you just simply put the number you need. But for multiple GPUs, you have to put the numbers with commas. So remember that order that we saved earlier of the GPUs? This is how we put them here. So say you have a 3060 Ti LHR, a 1660 Super, and a 1080 Ti. What we're going to do here is the 3060 Ti LHR and the 1660 Super don't need memory tweak. They're not a GDDR5 card. You're just going to put 0, 0, and then the last one is for the 1080 Ti. So we're going to put another comma and put either 1 to 6. And that's how you do with multiple GPUs. So if you had like 10 or maybe 12 different cards, you'd use 12 or 11 commas for all these GPUs. And if one of the cards doesn't need one of the settings, you just put a 0 as it, so that it won't overclock anything with this. And then the next one is PL, which stands for power limit. So like I said earlier, the hash rate .nl lists these in watts. So you have to multiply it as a percentage of the TDP, for example, like 80, 70, or 60. So an example with the 3 cards here is 80, 70, 60, just like that. Now these aren't the actual overclock settings I'd use for these cards. Like the 3060 Ti Electro, I'd use 83, and I don't need the other ones, but this is just an example for using 3 cards. And then for the next one is fan. So you can either set this as a percentage of the maximum fan speed you want, like between 0% and 100%, or you can set the fan to keep it at a certain temperature. So if you want to set it as a fan speed, then you can set it at like 80% or 60%, 90% or 100%, however you want to do it. But if you want to keep it at a desired temperature, then you can put a T and then a colon and then set the temperature in Celsius that you want to maintain. So I'd set it between 40 and 65 degrees for your GPU. So I'm just gonna try 55 degrees here, and then basically it's gonna set an auto fan for whatever speed it needs to spin at to keep that GPU at that temperature. And you can also mix and match. So like say you want one card to do 45 degrees, the second one to do 55 degrees, and then the last one to spin in a constant 80%, then you can do it exactly like this. And now moving on to the actual overclock settings. So the first one is lock core clock. Now there's 2 options for GPUs. There's core clock and then lock core clock, which is also absolute core clock. Now some GPUs can use this and they actually perform better when you use this instead of the normal core clock. So it's only supported on the 1660 series, the 20 series, and the 30 series, not on any of the 10 series like the 1060s, the 1070s, and the 1080s. So for here, if you're using one of these cards, just put 0 into the value, or if you're only using one of these cards, just remove it completely. But if you're using like a 20 series, a 30 series, or a 1660 series, then you can use this value here and it'll say on hashrate.no. And then here you can also mix them. So say one of the GPUs can't take this, so you just put 0, and then you just put a comma and then put in whatever values you want to use. And then for core clock, now all the cards can run this. It just depends on what the recommended settings are, or whatever settings work best for your GPU. So just whatever it says on hashrate.no. If it says to use absolute core clock, then don't use this setting. And if it says core clock, then you can use this setting. And then the second last one is memory clock. So this is one of the main settings for your Ethereum mining because the Ethereum algorithm is mainly memory based. So this one just works how it does in MSI Afterburner. So whatever settings it shows on hashrate.no, just divide that by 2, and then you'll get your setting for Windows, and then just put that in here. And then the last setting is intensity. So this could be a number between 0 and 25. And it's how intense will the miner be running on your computer, and also how laggy your computer is going to be. So if you want to be using your computer while it's mining, maybe for basic things or even gaming, then you want to just keep this at default, like set it to 22. Now you could say intensity 22, or just remove it because default is 22. But if your rig is really stable and it's only being used for mining, then I'll just set it to 25 so that it gives you a little bit more performance out of it, because you'll be mining at the full potential. And you can also mix and match these. So say you want one GPU to run at 22, another to run at max, and then maybe one at 23, you can do that as well. But yeah, that's basically how you overclock your GPU. Now again, if you want to just use MSI Afterburner, you can. I won't be including that into this video, but if you want to see a video like that, then I can make one for you, or you can check one that's already made on YouTube. It's not that hard to use MSI Afterburner, so I'm sure you can find a video that explains how to use it. But yeah, so you can just hit file, save, and then you can start to run the mining software however you want to do it. And then after it's been running for maybe like 10 to 15 minutes, you should start to see your statistics on the ethermine.org mining pool. Now I'm just going to show you like a quick example of how to use this website. So on the left, if you have like a number there, then that means it's active, but if it's on the right, then it means it's inactive. And then you have your unpaid balance. You can show this in Ethereum, Bitcoin, USD, or a couple of different currencies. And then you can see your estimated earnings for daily, monthly, and weekly. Now this might take like a whole day to update to what it's actually at, so you might not see it right away. And then here you can see your hash rate, current, average, and reported. Now it takes a while for this current and average to actually like update to what it's really at in the mining software. So just look at the reported. If it says what it should be, then you should be good to go. Then you can see like how many valid shares you have. Make sure you have no invalid shares. If there is any invalid shares, then it means that your memory clock is too high on your GPU. And then stale shares is just due with your internet connection. Now it's fine if you have a couple stale shares. Doesn't really affect anything. But yeah, now it gives you like a big graph. It's really nice to look at. And then you can also see your payouts, settings, and yeah, that's basically all it. And then once you have like a full payout on MetaMask, you can send this Ethereum to any exchange you want or any wallet you want, and then you could exchange for cash or different crypto, or just keep it in your wallet. It's It's really up to you. But anyways, that's gonna do it for this video. If you do want to see how to start a Trex miner as soon as you log into your computer, you can check out the end of this Windows mining setup tutorial I made. But if you're good with how it's set up now, then you should be good to go and start mining right away. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more videos like this, then be sure to subscribe to my channel. And if you found this video helpful, just leave a thumbs up, that would really mean a lot to me. But yeah, I will see you in the next video. Thank you.